Hello, lovely Justice Warriors. How are you guys today? Hey, Fred. Good afternoon. How are you doing? Did you already go to sleep? Wait, you just got home from work, so you're gonna go to sleep, right? Am I catching your schedule accurately? Let me grab my notebook. Have you guys seen the new plunder yet? It's called something like I was the best husband in the whole freaking universe and all of eternity. It's about JP. It's so good. I started watching it a second time. It's that good. Um, so yeah, there's been a ton of people dropping great videos, kind of reviewing that crap spewing from JP. So I'm feeling a little self-conscious because I don't really like to do the whole thing with the cleavage, but the shirt, I love this shirt, and I know it was one of Ara's favorite shirts of mine, and I haven't worn it in a long time because of that issue that I just mentioned. So I'm just going to put it out there and get over it, get on with it. Thanks for being here, Fred, and thanks everybody who's watching on the replay, or if you're here live and you just haven't said hello yet. Can you hear me okay? Is everything plugged in? I think so. Is my brain plugged in? I just ate some hash browns with cheese and sour cream. So that was really good. I was starving all of a sudden. And I was like, oh, I got to have a bite to eat before I go on. And I got my puppy dog in the room. Come here, Mookie. Come here, baby. She told me she wants to be on YouTube more. Nico, hello. I'm hearing you fine. And do I have any potato skins in my teeth? No, I'm just kidding. Mary Thomas, hello, good afternoon, blessings. Lovely to see you, Mary. It's been a while, huh? How are you? How are all three of you? So I know Fred's in Illinois. Nico, you're on the East Coast, right? And Mary, if you want to say where you are. And sorry if I outed you being in Illinois, Fred. I know you are pretty open about the state and even the city, but I'll just stick with the state. We like to be real general here. I am in Ohio, so I'm on the East Coast time frame, but not really the East Coast. It's considered the Midwest, but it's like as far east as you can go and still be Midwest. Because Pennsylvania's East Coast, right? Anyway, East Coast also, Mary says. All right, so let's see what's going on with all of you. No problems, big state and city. Exactly. I know. And it was funny when it was Zav girl once asked me, I said something about being in Ohio, and she's like, oh, you're from Ohio too? What part of Ohio? And I was like, within a couple hours from Columbus, because the entire state's within a couple hours from Columbus. And it's just good to kind of keep things vague. We got a lot of trolls around these streets of the YouTube, huh? And especially when we're covering cases with some real scumbags like JP Miller. Everything I say is simply my opinion. I'm allowed to have that opinion. I'm sure a lot of you have that opinion. Everything that I say is for the sake of starting a conversation, hoping to open up a discussion and learn something and be educational. All my videos have been made for YouTube. It's an entertainment platform. You guys know how I love to be educational. And to me, becoming educated is like my favorite form of entertainment, probably. I mean, I love art, don't get me wrong, but I think of art as education too. So there's so much to be learned. And the more we learn, the more we know we will never know, right? And when we've got these master manipulator gaslighters that have authority and have law enforcement on their side, and they're trying to play the media like a freaking piano, and they're really good at piano, but not so good at playing the media, but almost. I'd give JP I don't know, C minus, D plus. Almost. If he wasn't like touching his nose. So that was the biggest thing about Paul the Plunder. Like, I think a lot of the content creators, including myself, spoke about him and his freaking nose, right? Paula counted that he touched his nose 44 times just in the edited version of that interview. 44 times. So if you haven't seen her video yet, I'll of course link it in the description. And she counts. I think she counts backwards, or does she count frontwards? Anyway, she starts it out with the 44 nose touches. And I'm just like, yeah, tell me he's not, you know, ingesting something via that pathway. And I'll sell you a, I don't know, an igloo in Arizona, right? Some waterfront property in Kansas City. I don't know. I mean, what a freaking dirtbag. I want to say joke, except he's not funny. He's really scary. I mean, look what he did to Micah. Whether he was present on the day and the time that she became no longer alive, whether he was physically present or not, we know he had everything to do with that. And he won't stop abusing her, even though she's deceased. He will not stop abusing her family. He will not stop defaming her. I wonder if you can do a slander lawsuit for somebody who's already deceased. I bet you can. Do you guys know? You could Google it. We can ask Google. Google might know. Sometimes Google pretends that Google knows and Google doesn't know. So we can't trust everything. But I do have a ton of notes, kind of, you know, picking up where we left off on Saturday. Have you guys ever seen this movie called, I think it's called Axe Red Rum in a Small Town? I might want to Google that. It's Deborah Hershey, Brian Hennessy. Let me see. It's a true story. It happened in Texas. And I'm just going to Google what I said. Axe. I don't think it's Axe Red Rum in a Small Town. I think it's just Red Rum in a Small Town. But it's based on a small town in Texas, a true story. And it reminds me a lot of the setup here with what happened to Micah. It's called a Killing in a Small Town. TV, yeah, Barbara Hershey, Brian Dennehy, John Terry, Richard Gillian. I don't even know those last two. But I didn't know it was a TV movie. It's a really good movie. So, Barbara Hershey plays the woman who sings in a church choir. Remember, this is a small town and a true story. She's singing at the church choir. She slips out the back during the middle of the rehearsal. She goes and she does the unthinkable. A woman who's having an affair with her husband hacks her, and then showers off before she leaves that woman's house. And then she slips back into the choir practice. Nobody even noticed she was gone. So when JP says that he was at a soccer tournament all day on the day that Micah became not living, how easy would it be to like walk around at a soccer tournament in the morning, make sure everybody sees you, and then again, at the end of the day, walk all around the soccer tournaments. Make sure you say hi to everybody. Make sure you take them all out and buy them dinner. But in between, no one maybe there saw you between the morning and the evening sightings. And they're not going to notice because they're not taking notes on you. They're not paying attention. Unless they were looking for you at one point, which, you know, that could be troubling. Come here, Mookie. Come here, baby. I thought you wanted to be in the movie. Come on. Come here. Mookie. Come here. Mookie, Mookie, Mookie. Okay, you're not coming. She's so funny. She's such a goofball. So, let's see. No updates on Taylor Casey is making me worry. I know, isn't it awful? And that's Fred's hometown city person. JP is going to get what he dishes out back in spades, hitting the sauce, so to speak. Yeah. You know, I think that powdery substance has a lot more relevancy in a lot of these cases than any of us really think about. it's a popular thing to abuse, especially at parties, especially frat parties. You see where I'm going with that? I'm going to Truckee and I'm going to Moscow, Idaho. It's a very popular substance still to this day. A lot of people dig it. So I have often wondered about that in Truckee. I've often wondered about that with the Idaho 4. I don't really wonder about it with JP. I feel 100% certain that that's what's going on. And, you know, other channels that I've watched seem to be saying the same thing. So I don't think I'm unique in that, but it does strike me, and it has struck me before. I've talked about this with mental health. You really can't diagnose a mental health disorder when there's substance abuse involved. You have to be free and clear of any type of addiction in order to properly to get a precise and accurate diagnosis for mental health. Not to say that you can't start treatment before you have all that kind of ferreted out, but my point is that JP seems like he's got the bipolar 1 off the chain. The responding to internal stimuli, like he did in the interview when he does this with his hand, kind of like shaking his brain, I call that, it looked to me like he was responding to internal stimuli. That can be more of like a schizophrenic trait, but that can also be a manic type of episode. And I do think that he has traits and that he appears to have manic episodes. And I think he certainly appears to me to be completely personality disturbed and then some. But if he's been abusing substances his whole life, which I do wonder, running somebody down with his vehicle intentionally when he was 19, a 19-year-old young woman. Who was this woman? I know her name, but I don't know the name of his oldest son's mother. So I don't know if it's his oldest son's mother. I don't know if it's somebody that he was romantically interested in, but I would bet you my bottom dollar he had been dating her. And maybe it is the father of his oldest child. Logan, is that the guy's name? It's escaping me at the moment. Logan something Miller. Anyway, he's like 28 or 29. So JP had him when he was 16. JP just turned 45. And then this incident happened when he was 19. And he admitted in the interview with News Nation that he did actually once use some substances once when he was 16, although he was kind of confused on, what hallucinogens were and what that meant and how you did that anyway, which playing dumb like that really makes me think. It also makes me think when he's crawling around on the grass like a little worm, complaining about the ants crawling on him, that he could have well been on hallucinogens. I did listen to one content creator who was a nurse who was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt and kind of thinking, well, maybe he's having a bad reaction to some new medication. Because I think he said that, right? But no, I mean, I don't give him the benefit of the doubt. I don't think he deserves it. I think he is disgusting. I think he's a monster. I think he makes people's lives miserable. And that's typical of people who have personality disorders, that if you have any contact with them at all, it's going to be a severe pain in the butt. But especially like the professionals that are around him, like, for instance, law enforcement. He makes them work really hard and he makes them get in trouble. That one woman, the Lieutenant Wilson, Heather Wilson. So her husband was Brian Wilson and he was the head of security for the church, Solid Rock. He probably is the reason she was under investigation. And even though being under investigation, she wasn't cited for any wrongdoing, her and her husband did quit the church after that, allegedly, from what I have found on the internet. So it is important to know that, all of the information that I share with you guys, I try to cite it in my description where you can find some of these things. Like so many content creators say, it's important to do your own research and form your own opinion and not take a content creator's opinion for granted, because it's just an opinion, and opinions change, and opinions can be incorrect. A lot of times when I have an opinion and I share it, I hope that I'm incorrect. I really honestly pray to be incorrect. Kylie Rodney is a perfect example. I would pray that she was not betrayed by the people around her. I would pray that it was a simple accident, mistake for her, that she did that, because that's nowhere near as disgusting and sinister as what I think actually happened to her. And I do think that she was the victim of multiple crimes by multiple individuals. Oh, Seeker of Truth just put out a new video that is just freaking chilling. I'll put a link to that in my description. And I don't know who Seeker of Truth is. I don't know if they live in the area. I don't know if they have inside information. I don't know if they're just simply expressing their opinion. But it seems like a very plausible reality, what they're putting out there. And it's gross, you guys. It is just gross. Sort of worse than even the worst things that I've thought. But I'll let you go to that video yourselves. It's like, I think just like 6 minutes or something. It's a short one. Yeah, I'm so worried about Taylor Casey. So all of these cases, Taylor Casey, Kylie Rodney, and Micah Miller, all seem to have this kind of CULT kind of community kind of twistedness involved. The betrayal, secrets. I mean, with Kylie and with Micah, I think that there was information that they knew too much. With Taylor, I don't know. I think that she was probably targeted due to some racism and maybe the fact that she was trans, and that's a pretty tough combination in a place like that. And she had a Bible in her tent, and there's a lot of people that practice yoga that are practicing Christians as well. But I don't know that this ashram would have been so keen on that. I don't know. And maybe they are, maybe they aren't. But she had that Bible with her, and I kind of think that that might have gotten her targeted too. So I do want to share with you guys, I'm really excited. I think I'm going to start teaching yoga classes at my freaking church. I try to not talk about that kind of stuff. I mean, I talk about the yoga. I try not to talk about church because, I always go to the Dana Carvey church lady thing. But I'm super excited about the possibility of teaching there. So let's see. No white find Kylie shirt. No white find Kylie shirt. No white find Kylie shirt. So Fred, that in the Taylor Casey case down there in the Bahamas, that everybody that was there for the training was required to wear white pants and a yellow t-shirt. And that just kind of stimulated that whole muscle memory of the white t-shirts with the Find Kylie written on them, with the red or with the black, and the real jagged, kind of angry, kind of violent movements with the writing of Find Kylie. Like, it didn't need to be written that way. That seemed intentional. Oh, man. That whole thing. It's just so hard to keep up with all these gaslighters, is it not? I mean, I get overwhelmed sometimes and just need to sit back and chill. But then I want to keep at it because I think it's really important to keep these people's names out there and keep expressing the skepticism. Kylie Rodney's case is, we're coming up in 2 weeks, about just over 2 weeks, we'll be at the 2-year anniversary. And I think, are we at the 1 month mark for Taylor Casey? Yeah, it was none other than Juneteenth when she went missing. It was June 19th, which is, a national holiday celebrating freedom of slaves. Technically, it's celebrating the time that the slaves found out they were free, because they didn't know that they were free for a while. It took a while to get that information to them. So, and I think Juneteenth has only been like an actual national holiday for like 3 years. Was it 2021? I think. So for those that are confused by it, that's why, is because it's new. But the whole thing with the cults, and then with JP, and he is so cultish. Let's see. Oceanfront in Vegas. Yeah. Yep. Can he sue himself for defamation of Micah's character? I like that, Micah. He should sue himself. That's another Kids in the Hall video that I love. One of my favorites. Kevin McDonald is suing himself for the sexual harassment. And he's like, Your Honor, I'm doing it right now. He's grabbing himself. It's flipping hilarious. Oh, man. Hello, Annabees. Nice to see you. Mother of oldest child. Yeah. Logan, whatever his whole name is. I mean, I don't need to put him out there, but he's a wife beater too. I mean, he was arrested twice for domestic violence. But man, JP's kids, I got to say this too, having worked in family court with divorces and custody cases, the prolonged custody battles is probably the worst thing for a child's mental health. Like, divorce is rough, but kids are resilient. They'll get through it. Dragging out the custody battle, readdressing it in court, calling the police on each other, that's like using the kids as pawns, and that is just so wrong. And why do my shoulders look so uneven? See what I mean? Crazy camera angles. No, my shoulders are not uneven, but see there. You guys don't care. I care, but you don't care. Let's see. He is the father. Even grandma had daughter in charge of mother's affairs, but Dr. Miller had hands on checking care. I just hope Ginger went through food closely before threw ingredients it out. So Mary Thomas, I think it's one of Plunder's last videos, not the very last one that I was just citing, but the one before that, where she's going through a whole stack of public records requests that she had fulfilled. And she's talking about, one of them is addressing the GPS tracker that JP says he found on his car. And this is after Micah's deceased. This is like early May. And he calls the police and he hands it to them with his bare hand. So he's got his DNA and his fingerprints on it. I almost said FNA, if you caught that. He hands it to them as evidence. I found this tracker device on my car, as if he's trying to like say that whoever was tracking Micah is tracking him, or that maybe Micah was tracking him. It's so infuriating. And the fact that he hands it to the officer with his bare hand, so of course you're going to find his DNA and his fingerprints on it. But it's my guess that he's just inventing things, and that's illegal. That's called harassing law enforcement, and that's called obstruction of justice. I mean, you can't be making fake calls to law enforcement. Oh, unless you're JP and you have a badge that says you're special and that you can do whatever the F you want. right? His father. And then there was like issues about human trafficking in that call or the call right after that. I'll put a link to that plunder also. So yeah, she's been getting handfuls of public records requests filled. It's phenomenal. I don't know how she keeps track of that stuff because I find it very confusing. I only do a couple at a time usually. And typically you're going to get denied. And then you have to follow up the denial if you want to get your hands on it. And then you'll sometimes get it on the first appeal. And sometimes, I've known people who have had to file lawsuits in order to get public records request fulfilled. And that's exactly what Paula Plunder did in the Watts case, getting that infamous 3-hour and 33-minute interview of NK where her father's sitting next to her. So Paula Plunder had been back and forth with the Weld County for like 3 years. And, I honestly thought she would never see it. And I thought that they were going to destroy it. She had communicated to me that she was giving them notice of suit. And I thought I was in vain. And like I said, one of those situations where I was wrong, and I was so glad to be wrong. The minute she got that, I was just like, wow, 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 wow. It kind of changed everything in that case to me. I mean, NK needs to be interrogated, given a lie detector test, interviewed like for real without her daddy there. There's no statute of limitations on being a co-conspirator or being an accessory before, after, or during the fact. An accessory or even an accomplice. I mean, in that Watts case, you guys, I am like certain in my heart of hearts that Shanann Watts walked into that house and was jumped by at least 2 people. And I think that those 2 people are very likely CW and NK, but I think that that's why there were no marks on her, that there was no signs of a fight. There was no signs, any defensive wounds. There wasn't a single scratch on Chris. That's what I think happened. I think that when we see her on the Ring doorbell cam walking up the driveway and, she's got her suitcase and she's leaving Nicole Atkinson's car and she gets in the house, or we see her right before she gets in the house, I think it was a blitz attack right there. And personally, I think that the 2 little adorable children were already lights out. And I don't think that they reincarnated or became conscious again. I think that that's all delusions on Chris's part. And that he's just trying to obfuscate, did I say that right? He's just trying to muddy the water and protect the people that he's trying to protect, the person or people, by pretending that he did what he did to them alone out at the site, because he can almost kind of prove that he was out there alone until, Troy McCoy and the other guy showed up. Who's the Troy McCoy in this case? Would it be Sprinkler Boy? I think so. And let's see. Mary Thomas says, yes, I believe that. Listening while I do things. Love and blessings. Hey, Shan. Lovely to see you. Thanks for coming in, everybody. And probably framed her Kylie shirt as a trophy. Oh, Fred. I would not be surprised in the least. Not in the least. And I want to refer you guys to one of Mr. Mark's most recent videos. He is just on it, absolutely on it. I took some notes from that. He says this, Mr. Mark says, the random attack of bongs and generic bong dudes. I'm just like, I had to stop and replay that a couple of times and write that down. Random attack of the bongs and the generic bong dudes. Do you love it? Oh, that was just a gem right in the middle of a like 1 hour plus live of his. I think it was probably from about 30 hours ago. Again, I'll link it up in the description. Um, Another channel that I really like that I've been really into, and I think I've mentioned her to you guys, but maybe not that much, is called Not My Cup of Tea. And yeah, did a great video recently. Did a really good video. Um, and again, I'll put that in the description too. It's very hard to listen to JP. That's the thing that she says that I wanted to say, and I didn't want to be like saying it without giving her credit. She does such a good job. She has like a 3-minute video of breaking down JP's 45-minute interview video. And it's so quick because she literally fast forwards through the entire freaking thing. And it's just him in fast forward with his crazy nose touches and all that. And it's brilliant because watching just his gestures and in that fast forward just kind of says it all. And she's just like, look, I can't listen to him. I'll tell you what I think, but I can't listen to him. But you also see him with the Duper's Delight often. And I want to give another shout out to Veronica Adams, who I believe is the one who coined the phrase of calling him JP Diddy, which is apropos like nobody's business. And also, you guys know I'm really into this channel, Freedom Voice Online, that talks about the gang stalkers and the organized stalkers and Scientology. And I haven't followed the Scientology thing. The leader of Scientology, David Miscavige, I think is how you say his last name. His wife, Shelley Miscavige, if I'm saying it correctly, has been missing for 10 years. And the cops say that they can't do anything about that because when they try to check on her and do a welfare check, he'll answer the door and say that she's not there or that she doesn't want to come to the door or what have you. I think that's bogus. I think that with no one having seen hide nor hair of her for a decade, if her family is calling the police to request a welfare check, you can't let these abusers get away with this stuff. But my guess is that, like JP, he's got some of the law enforcement people that are part of his congregation. If you call it a congregation, you probably don't when it's that, right? I don't know what you call it. Other than horse crap, in my opinion. Yes, blessings. Yeah, Fred, that is such a true statement. Yeah, we know that unalivers like trophies. They love their trophies. I believe she probably has the 3 necklaces. But I really got to give it to Ninja Chihuahua for continuing to hammer away at replaying all of the old pressers and interviews, all these things that the law enforcement said that is just, at this point, it's a joke. It's an absolute joke and not a funny one. Not at all. You said father when you meant mother. Thanks, Nico. No, I couldn't have. I never make mistakes. I don't think she did the unaliving, but I think she did plan it with Chris. Yeah, I think both, in my opinion. And I also think that she'd been showing up in What's the Obsessions chats, especially the last one that I was in, which was NK's birthday. It was her 36th birthday on July 3rd. So if you guys haven't seen that one, I'd say watch it and read the chat. And I don't think that I was the only one that was sus of this person, this alleged grandma. Give me a freaking break. This NK loving grandma. Yeah, because you know, grandmas love NK. They love hoes like that. They do. They love protecting the hose, the side pieces. Sure. Yeah, right. And yeah, she's just really trying to discourage anybody from talking about it or thinking about it or having any hope. And it's just like, okay, you made your point. You can stop talking now, Grandma. Check it out and tell me what you think. I think it's pathetic. And I think it's hilarious that this is what this hoe was doing on her 36th birthday, hanging out with the enemies, right? And she just can't stop herself. Like, no life, no freaking life, which obviously she had no life. Otherwise, she wouldn't have gotten involved with that douchebag, Chris Watts. Yuck. I mean, yeah, I know he was like the silver fox or whatever, but come on, when someone's married, just do yourself a favor and run for the hills, right? Seriously. Billy, darling, hello, my dear. How are you? The way she held her hands in the strangling fashion, I don't think she partook, but possibly watched it play out. The way she does the shenan, and until that video came out, you had no idea. And the first person I saw breaking that down was Armchair Detective. Shenan, shenan. Oh man, you guys, if you haven't seen that, if you don't know what I'm talking about, um, yeah. Paula Plunder took down all of her Watts videos, including that 3-hour, 33-minute interview. But Shanann's brother, Frankie Ruzek, he has a channel. He put it up the minute Paula put hers up. He got a copy of it as well. And his is still up. So I'll link that in the description. I'll try to timestamp it where it is that you're talking about squirrels. And yeah, the other thing that was real revealing, I mean, other than the entire 3 hours and 33 minutes, I would recommend watching the whole thing, even if you've seen it before, is when she says, they're so little. They're like this big. And she like measures with her hand. And it's just like, you're not going to do that if you hadn't seen them in person, in my opinion. But yeah, I think she did have hands on. I absolutely think that. I think she was the mastermind, and I think she had hands on. I don't think Chris could have done that, as much of a dirtbag as he is. And don't get me wrong, I'm not defending him. I think he is right where he needs to be. I don't think that the man can think for himself. I don't think he can take action for himself. He's extremely dependent. And you know who else is dependent is this frickin', excuse me, I didn't say it, frickin' JP. I did. I said it. I admit it. All right. But at least I think I said frickin'. That's a good one. I'll start saying that. Man, talk about dependent personality disorder. Whoa. I mean, any personality disorder, people are extremely dependent on, like, approval, like especially like borderline and narcissist and histrionic personality disorders, the cluster B. They are addicted and reliant, and they need other people's attention. They cannot exist without it. So even if it's negative attention. So that explains why JP won't just keep his mouth shut. And then he's got to come out and talk and then say that like his lawyer's encouraging it or something. Like, no, dude, I don't think so. It's just that you can't stop yourself. He sees an opportunity for attention from a nationwide audience. He's extremely narcissistic, histrionic, and borderline. There's no way he can resist that temptation. I mean, that's some serious narcissistic fuel right there. Right. The way she held her hands, yeah, I don't think she partook. Okay, read that one. And they were tossing bongs around the town. Ha ha ha. Oh, I know. I got to read that quote that I wrote down from Mark again. I just thought that was so flippin' hilarious. Random attack of the bongs as soon as they got out of the car by the generic bong dudes. Good way to go, Mark. Way to go. And they were tossing bongs. Why do I keep reading the same one? Sorry, I'm a little slow today. Leader is Tom Cruise, soon to be. Well, and also like Travolta's part of that, unfortunately. A lot of people are. I don't know if Madonna's still part of it. Of course, there's that Leanne Remy who escaped and talks openly and freely about it. It's some serious crazy. Absolutely. Back says hello, Jazz and chat. Late but here, listening while I finish some cleaning. Oh, I've got some cleaning to do. I've got a little project that I just identified in my dining room, and I'm excited to do it. I was going to get started on it, but I'm like, no, I got to do my live, because once I get going on that, who knows? I'm sure it'll take me at least the rest of the day, probably. A little bit of rearranging and stuff, which I try not to do because it's such a pain in the arse. Such a pain in the arse. Him and JP are disgusting. Who him, Anna? Are you talking about he was not attractive? Are you talking about the Top Gun dude? I knew him when I was a teenager, when he first got famous, and he was actually pretty freaking hot. I mean, but that's when he was like 17, 18, and he was hanging out with Sean Penn and Emilio Estevez, Rob Lowe. They had just done that movie, Taps. And yeah, I was crazy for Tom Cruise, like way before anybody knew who he was. But I was like 4 years younger, and he never knew who I was, even though I baked him cookies. But we won't get into that. But he definitely had like the charisma and that mojo. You gotta give him that. I mean, I don't like who he is and what he's become. It's kind of cool that he does his own stunts, but no, he's a weirdo. And like what happened with poor Katie Holmes. I mean, she barely got out of there. Her and her adorable little kid. And Katie's from Ohio. She's a fellow Ohio girl. Let's see. Where are we at? Anna B says, I'm a grandma. I don't like NK. It was just really funny because this handle said, like out of the blue, I'm a grandma. And I'm just like, sure you are, NK. I didn't call her NK in the chat, but almost. So if you watch that video, it is long. It's probably 3 hours. It's What's the Obsession, July 3rd of this year, and it's good. I'd say it'd be worth your time, but I know not everybody has the patience for long videos like that. So, like I said, I'll try to do a timestamp in there as well for you guys. But yeah, I'll do a timestamp in the Frankie one of that 3 hour and 33-minute interview for anybody who hasn't seen that. But yeah, cleaning is so good. Bex, keep it up. Keep it up. Opportunist, Billy says you get a bong hit and you get a bong hit and you. Yeah. Tom is David's BFF. Oh, Billy darling, how creepy is that? Well, and I think that Katie Holmes won't ever speak a word of any of it because she'd probably, what happened to Micah would probably happen to her, is my opinion. But also to protect her daughter. And yeah, she's really lucky she got out of that situation. Really fortunate. I wouldn't say luck. I think she had to do a lot of plotting and planning, and she had to be very brave, and she had to take some big risks. Big risks. Ramini, thank you, Nico. Leanne Ramini, am I getting her first name right? And Anna B says Chris. Chris and JP are disgusting. And the Top Gun dude, they're all disgusting. I mean, these guys, all of them, they think they're God's gift, don't they? I mean, Chris certainly thought he was God's gift back when all this happened. And JP obviously thinks that. And of course, Tom Cruise is all but convinced that he is. Yeah. And that kind of narcissism, that kind of ego is just so barf worthy. Love ya. Gotta go pick up Mr. Darling birthday present. Aw. Happy birthday to Mr. Darling. I love that. That's so cute. Um, Leah Ramini, thank you, Nico. I like to be accurate, so I appreciate that. Not Leanne. Leah Ramini. Yeah, the woman, the actress from King of Queens, for anybody who doesn't know the interviews with her when she came out of Scientology, and she spoke out loud and clear. And not a lot of people have. Probably that that man's wife wanted to, which is probably why she's not around, in my humble opinion. The Shelley Miscavige. I'm not sure if I'm saying their last name right. I'm so glad Katie got away from TC and Scientology. Yeah, absolutely. So Mookie, come here, baby. I have the door shut, and I don't want to be ignoring her. And I know you guys haven't seen her in a long time. Come here, Mookie. Come here. Come here. Come here, honey. Come here, Mookie. Come on. Come on. Come here. Come on. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here, silly thing. Oh, you guys got a Mookie sighting. She's so sweet. So Mookie's not the one who has cancer. Coco is the one who has cancer. Mookie is the one who's part Chiweenie and has the little heart on her forehead. And she is such a cutie. She's the one that we almost lost when we were in Florida. She ran away and ran to the busy boulevard. And we got her back alive. It was a miracle, an absolute miracle. Mwah. But yeah, I would still request miracle prayers for Coco to not have her cancer return, because we are so concerned about that. We are so worried. Coco is probably 9 and Mookie's probably 7, I think. They might be a year older than that. Anyway. Let me look at my notes, because I do have a lot of good notes. If you were here on Saturday, you got to see my amazing drawing of Lake Tahoe, Nevada County, Placer County, and then that other county. I just had to show that again because I'm so proud of my representation there. Can you see it? That's Lake Tahoe, Nevada County on top, Placer County in the middle, and then the other county below that. So yeah, the Lake Tahoe is huge, and it is on the border, as you guys know, of California and Nevada. But then there's like 6 counties, I think, all around it. It's a lot of counties. Anyway, let's talk about these things. I wanted to say about this was specifically with the JP crap. You know, in that interview when he talks about people and their feelings and how he's gonna like bless us all with some logic and facts, right? And it's just like, oh, thank you, Mr. Narcissist. I wanted to share this in case anybody out there doesn't know, because I didn't know until I was in a lawsuit, that your feelings are considered hard evidence in a court of law. Literally. So if you feel scared, if somebody pops up in your window unexpectedly and you feel scared, your reaction to them popping up in your window and being scared is evidence that is just as credible as them popping up. Because somebody might do that. They might pop up into your window unexpectedly and you might think it's funny. And that would be considered evidence too. But just so that you are clear, because people get that confused. And like I said, I didn't even know until I was in my 30s and had a lawsuit that that my response and my reaction and my intuition, I mean, if you call it intuition, then they might not want to, give it the seal of approval as being fact. But if you say, I felt scared, that counts as hard evidence. If you say, I felt safe, that counts as hard evidence. So it's important to know that, because, people like JP like to pretend like feelings are just neither here nor there, and it couldn't be the furthest thing from the truth. All right. So JP accused Micah and her father of holding him and his sister captive in his house, not allowing them out. This was, I'm not sure if it was something that happened in February of this year, but it's in that Paula Plunder video where she's going through the stack of all of the police reports. So JP calls the police and says, you know, I'm in my house and I'm all scared with my sister. We're hiding in the back room, and my scary wife and her scary dad are outside of my house and they're not letting us out. You know, because that is like holding somebody captive, corralling somebody and not allowing them the freedom of movement is essentially the same thing as kidnapping or holding someone hostage. So we know that JP has done that kind of thing to Micah numerous times. But then he's calling the police and trying to pretend that Micah and her dad are holding him and his sister hostage. And I don't know if you've heard the stories about his sister yet. I need to do more research on her. But apparently she lives with him. And apparently she's more of a hot mess than he is, if you can even imagine that to be a possibility. Very, very sad. And not surprising. I mean, if he grew up with the type of abuse that it seems like he grew up with, his sister might have gotten even more of the brunt of it than him, especially if she's older than him. And I don't know if she's older or younger. Like I said, he's 45. I don't know the age of his sister, but I thought it was interesting that she's living with him and that she's like, I don't think she's very functional. Like, you know, he's at least a functioning nut job most of the time when he's not meandering and bumbling and crawling in the dirt and eating worms. Not funny, not funny. So what else did I want to look at from this page? I think that's all there. Sometimes I like to go backwards, like, you know, I was going from the last page to the other pages. So right here, this is the page I want to be on. I think I have all that. Yeah. Okay. So another thing JP accuses Micah and her dad of, he accuses her dad of like tricking her into buying him a car. This is going back to this February of 2024. I think that her father and one of her sisters are who picked her up from the psychiatric hospital after 2 days when he had her involuntarily committed. And that after that, we know that he stole her car out of the Walmart parking lot, and that car was probably in his name. So technically, he probably legally could do that, especially since he's friends with all the law enforcement. But he was leaving her high and dry without wheels. You know, he was leaving her high and dry as much as he could for everything that he could financially, and I'm sure like health insurance, if there's even health insurance involved, her cell phone, her bank cards. He was trying to control everything to not only punish her, but also to try to manipulate her into having to come back to him. So her father, I'm thinking, probably went car shopping with her and helped her buy a car in her own name. And then JP is trying to spin it like her dad manipulated her into buying her dad a car. Like, the man is so effing twisted. Just insane. So, Rich McHugh, the man who was interviewing JP, I want to give him a huge shout out. He was the man in the News Nation interview. he did a fabulous job. Don't you guys think? I mean, he's sitting there right across from JP and asking him some extremely uncomfortable, hard hitting questions and not backing down and just saying to him straight up, like, dude, you're not making sense. And like, I don't even believe you and that kind of stuff. So, let's see. And then when JP accuses all of us of being Jerry Springers, right? He's talking about how nationally this case is getting so much attention because people love Jerry Springer type of stuff. And then he goes and accuses Micah and her family as being Jerry Springer type of people. Okay, first of all, I want to say, full disclosure, Jerry Springer's from Ohio. He's an Ohio boy. He's from Cincinnati. He actually has my respect, believe it or not, because he was a pretty decent politician before he went into that genre of like reality TV. It was, everybody was doing it. It was like Phil Donahue and Oprah, and then Jerry Springer, Maury Povich. I mean, Jerry Springer was like the epitome of trash, right? Like, he just knew what people wanted. He knew how to like make a niche for himself and make bank. But aside from that, he's actually a reasonable guy, I think. So, I mean, you could call me a Jerry Springer fan. I mean, not really. It's just that I think he was a decent politician from Cincinnati. I'll reiterate that. But, Jerry Springer types are more like the people that crawl around with the ants in the grass and put on body casts and pretend that they've broken every bone in their body so that they can be deadbeat dads, right? I mean, those are the real Jerry Springer types. And then they turn around and call like upstanding, hardworking citizens Jerry Springer types. The pot calling the kettle black. I mean, it's funny, not funny. FedEx truck in drive could be scary to delusional YouTuber. Cute Fred. And in Paula Plunder's stash of all the legal paperwork that she got, the public records, there's some in there about JLR. Like, he doesn't say JLR, but it's JLR. He's like trying to say that JLR is harassing him and defaming him by talking about him on his show. It's funny. He says, some YouTuber in Florida. Pretty sure he meant JLR. I mean, I'm sure there's a ton of YouTubers in Florida, but like, that's the one. He called him JLR Never Investigates, which is hilarious that he even called him anything. And that was in the same breath, basically, that he was calling the Robbie Harvey show, Robbie Stupid Harvey. And, Robbie Harvey's middle initial is S. I don't think that that's what it stands for, but, JP is psychic, so maybe, right? Again, it's more of a compliment to Robbie Harvey and JLR that he's feeling threatened by them, that he's even bringing up their names. And I'm sure all it did for them is bring them more subscribers and more views, make them, gave them a larger profile. So they can thank the douchebag for that. But yeah, really good point. FedEx truck and drive could be scary to delusional YouTuber. And it could be scary to somebody who's not delusional if you know that there might be like ninjas hiding in the FedEx truck that are out to get you, right? Can imagine JP Jerry Springer, LOL. Oh man. Yeah. And like the whole thing with when he ran that 19-year-old woman over when he was 19, part of that story was that he was arguing with her. It was like the whole community in this cul-de-sac was trying to put a bunch of sandbags down for a big hurricane that was coming through. He wouldn't leave. He was asked to leave. He was told to leave. He finally left. And then he comes back in a different vehicle with tape over the license plate and runs her down. And then she's on the hood of the car, and he continues to drive 100 yards with her on the hood of the car. And then there's something in the documentation that says he basically hit her a second time. I'm not sure the details with that, but it doesn't say who this person is in relation to him. And I can only imagine that it was his girlfriend and potentially ex-girlfriend, potentially, probably more like ex-girlfriend, and potentially the mother of his oldest child. Maybe. I don't know for sure. But I am really curious if anybody does know. And here's a good question. Where's JP's mom? Is that his problem? Is that he's got a wire monkey mom? It's not funny. If somebody's been abandoned by their mom, it's not funny. It's a very serious issue. But actually, let me just be clear about personality disorders, because a lot of people think that personality disorders stem from a lack of a good relationship with the mom. And it's usually actually the lack of the good relationship with the dad. So, I mean, in Freudian psychology, everything is always the mom's fault, right? Like every single one of our problems is our mom's fault. And I know that I am the source of every single one of my kids' problems. But in reality, it's that bond with the father that when that is not there, I mean, really, it doesn't even need to be gender specific. It's more of a consistent caregiver. So if a child does not have a consistent caregiver, and this is specifically between the ages of newborn and a 2-year-old, that's where the trust or mistrust is developed. That's the foundation of your entire future. That's the foundation of your entire personality. That's the foundation of your entire life. It's based on trust or mistrust. So if you don't have a consistent caregiver and you don't trust that you're going to get your basic needs met, like food and water and getting a dry diaper and getting hugs and kisses and all these important things, then you start manipulating people to try to get your needs met. And this is why people with personality disorders don't usually want to change, is because they don't trust that if they change, that they'll still get their needs met. So it's really a survival thing, and it all has to do with fear of abandonment. So that's not oversimplifying either at all. Seriously, that's pretty much the bottom line. So what else do I have in my notes here that I want to be sure to mention? JP's sister's name is Lacey, in case you're curious, in case you're trying to figure out who this woman is that's living with him, that's more of a hot mess than he is, even though that's kind of not even a possibility. Unfortunately, it is. And yeah, the responding to internal stimuli is one of the key features of somebody who's experiencing a psychosis, a psychotic break. And it appeared to me in that interview with Rich McHugh that JP was responding to internal stimuli, specifically when he was doing this with his hand. And, you know, he was trying to pretend it was Micah. He projects all of his stuff on Micah. Like, he talks about all of his own experiences and all of his own crazy in the third person, like it's her, which is another whole characteristic of crazy, right? To like disassociate from himself and pretend that everything in him that is troublesome is not in him. It's in his deceased ex-wife or estranged wife. We can't forget that he was served the divorce decree 48 hours before she passed away. And I still don't think she did it to herself at all. But even if she did do it to herself, it doesn't make any sense. I don't even want to say even if she did do it to herself, because I really don't think she did. And I really think that it can be proven that she didn't, in the event that law enforcement will actually do a real investigation, or if Micah's family can hire private investigators that can accomplish that, and then, petition to reopen like the death certificate. And, because you'd have to change that from self-induced, to use JP's words, from self-inflicted to accidental or unknown or suspected homicide or foul play. Normally it would go to unknown. So you would petition to have it changed from self-inflicted to unknown, and then you could present your case in court and try to get it documented that there's foul play. And if you can just get it to be like, this is same with Kylie Rodney's case, if you can just get it to be changed to unknown, and then you even get like a note of suspicion of foul play or ruling out foul play, that's a huge win right there in laying the foundation for some justice. So Nico thinks that he drove her to it, and I don't think he did drive her to it. It's possible, and you could very well be right, and probably more people agree with you than with me. But I do think that there's a large contingency that believes that it was just designed to make it look like she did it to herself. So we're just over an hour. Oh, figuratively. Okay, Nico. JP brings all the Springer vibes. He's such a dirtbag, and his poor kids. So back to what I was saying about custody and kids surviving a divorce of their parents. I mean, most of America has survived a divorce of their parents, unfortunately, right? I mean, the divorce rate's like 50%, but a lot of people have survived that, myself included. My parents were divorced, and they didn't fight over custody of me because I told you guys, like, my dad just threatened her life and she didn't try to get custody. She assumed that someday he would give up and that she would regain custody of us. And essentially that is what happened in the end, me and my sister. But in the meantime, our lives were almost snuffed out by him. So, that was not a very intelligent choice for her. As intelligent as a person as she was also disassociative with her PTSD and didn't realize that having her kids live with a dangerous person who was willing to threaten her life, that could be a recipe for a disaster. Like, because she was just worried about her own self-preservation. Like, she couldn't believe that she got away from him alive because he was a lot like JP. I hadn't realized that until just now. Funny, not funny. I mean, I always think of him and Scott Peterson as one and the same. I think of him and Barry Morphew as one and the same. Honestly, I think of him and Ted Bundy as one and the same. But yeah, he is a lot like JP. JP is a lot like my father. So, the kids aren't safe. JP's kids aren't safe around him, but really, they're fighting an uphill battle just to have any sense of sanity and safety and any positivity towards a father figure, unless maybe Allison has remarried. I know she's had some decent boyfriends since she got out of that marriage. So I don't know if she might be remarried, or they might have a very solid father figure, within her side of the family, like maybe an uncle or a grandfather or something like that. I do want to say before wrapping up, I could just cry tears of joy for Allison that she got away from him. I would imagine that she realizes how lucky she is to be alive after being married to somebody that toxic and that dangerous. And, she's just fighting tooth and nail to keep her kids safe and to keep him away from them. And, more power to her. It's pretty phenomenal, too, that her and Micah had forged a tight bond after what they went through with, she walked in on her husband and the father of her 4 kids in a compromised position with the babysitter who was like their family member, like a nanny. She walked in on that in her house, in her own home. She lost everything. She lost her marriage. She lost the job at her church. She lost her church congregation. I don't know what happened to that house that they were living in. I don't know if she got to keep that house or not. I would imagine not, because JP probably had it in the church's possession, right? And he was in charge of everything at the church. So, that woman, Allison, is remarkable, and she is just a real source of inspiration. So I want to wrap up on a positive note with that and ask you guys if there's anything that you want to say before we wrap up for the day. We're just over an hour long. I do want to mention I did a 1 hour and 15-minute yoga video last night that I think is really good. It's instructions only. I'm going to try to videotape myself following those instructions so that you can hear it audioly and see it visually, so that you can get the verbal cues as well as the visual cues. I'm going to be trying to do that today or tomorrow. But that 1 hour and 14-minute plus, I think, is the best one so far. It's very polished, and it's pretty much the same routine. It's been the same routine for a long time with just subtle changes. And the biggest changes right now are that the positions are just being held longer, the stretches. And that's the whole thing with yin yoga. The whole point is to not push yourself too far in your ability, but to just maintain, to find your edge of what you're capable of with your flexibility, and then to back off a little bit and then just hold your pose there, at maybe 80 or 90% of what you're capable of. And by holding it for a long time, you're really invigorating the oxygen and the circulation of your blood and your muscles. So that's the magic of yin yoga. So it's the same routine that was 55 minutes. The second to last video that I did a few days ago is that same routine stretched out into 1 hour and 8 minutes. And then yesterday I did it in the 1 hour and 14 minutes. And I would recommend that one, but only if you're up for it. Only if you've maybe done the 55-minute one and the 1 hour and 8 minute one. But I'm probably just blowing smoke. Probably none of you care about my stupid yoga. I really want to encourage it, because I know it's like a gift that we give ourselves. So I'm not going to preach. I'm not going to push. I'm just letting you know that it's there, and I'm doing that for me and for you. So on that, please make sure you're still subscribed. Share a video of mine with somebody you think would like my channel. Turn on your notification bell to ring. Don't forget to hit that like button on the way out if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching. And please, any questions or comments that you have, put in the comment section and I will try to respond. I love you guys. Sending you light, sending you love. And I'm just going to have to pull up my shoulder thing one more time. It was Mark. Mark is so smart, Mr. Mark. He recommended using some double-sided tape. And I should have done that. Dang it. Too late now. All right, next time. I have been slacking, Anna B says. I do like your yoga. Oh, well, I love it. And I'm just so grateful that I can do it, and that I do it, because it's easy to think that you're doing your yoga or your workouts and to not really be doing them. But I am addicted. I love it, and I do it almost every single day. So to me, it's just, I enjoy it. I really enjoy it. It's all these twists. And they're just magnificent. They're very relaxing. They're really good for your muscles and for your internal organs, like your digestion and stuff. So check it out if you haven't yet. I'll quit preaching. I'll see you on the next one. Peace out. Love and light. Have a great day. Drink your water. I'll just leave it at that. Thanks again, you guys. Take care.